Good morning, everybody. It's the OK Grognard Show. It is Thursday, May 28th, 2020, 9:30 a.m. Central in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Today is a day, Thursday, which we normally work on miniatures painting or terrain building and the like, and the plan was to continue to work on WizKids Wave 9 73731 Deep Cuts Unpainted Miniatures Catapult Part 3. You can see it in the image there. Simply painted in a lovely brown with a bit of black around the outer rims of the wheels. Even the rope is kind of hidden. Most of it they painted as if it was wood. See the rivets on the upper crossbar are painted black. So they did a fairly simple but effective paint job for their regular images, packaging images, marketing images. And it looks just fine. Looks just fine. For me, I wonder if I change that, if we can make this work. Let me try adjusting something here. Maybe it's all about... Yeah, look at that. That actually works. That's a good thing. We've got the sound down on that camera, so that should be fine. We'll pop this up over on the right. This is sort of a side banner. There we go. That seems to work out all right. There we go. Okay. Let's have a look. Now, I've been using some inexpensive craft paints. So maybe what I've done is, in fact, I'll just move this to the side for a second so we can get some contrast. So you can see there's rope around the tension bar. I don't know what they call that. I'm going to call it a tension bar. Torque bar. It does have metal fittings there and a metal fitting that hooks in each tire or each wheel onto its axle. The outer rim of each wheel is studded and metal shod. I suppose that's... You don't want a wheel breaking down where you're moving this baby around, because you could lose the war. I think that's important. The paint I've been using thus far is just a craft paint. Brown 23696 Craft Smart. I think I got this from Michael's craft store. Plaid Enterprises online. That's plaidonline.com is their web address. I guess you could probably buy some there or find some sort of a listing, retailers who carry them, something like that. Where can you get these in your area, if at all? I'm sure they're marketed to craft stores, hobby stores, maybe big box stores in some areas. What would be the equivalent of a Walmart in a place where Walmart doesn't dare go? Who knows? Notice it is water-based, non-toxic. It says shake well, dry between coatings. Colors may be mixed clean while wet with soap and water. Yep, there it is. Exclusively for Michael's stores. Okay, so you can only get it at Michael's stores. It is made in the USA. It is pretty thin, but that's okay. Thin is good in this case, because while we may have to put on multiple coats, we still Let's do it that way. Are we in the middle? More or less? Yeah, I think so. We may have to put on multiple coats, and it does look like it's going to need another coat. So I tell you what, we will indeed put on another coat, because we definitely want to do that. We want to be sure. I'm going to step away out to the sink for a second. Pardon me if you lose audio. Probably heard all that. That's good. Just getting some water from the sink. So, something I was going to make mention of was that it's cheap paint. It's thin paint. It's not great paint. It's not going to go on thick. It's not going to be some kind of a one-coat wonder paint where it all gets this great coverage. Some paints, hobby paints that are like that might be like a Vallejo, which is known to be fairly thick. You get a little thinner when you get to the Reapers and the Citadels and the Army Painter. But people like to, people that are doing high-test jobs, really nice paint jobs on their minis, don't want to put on a ton of paint all at once. They're not looking to just slather it on and see what happens. They're looking to put on several nice thin coats and then come back and do detail work. I, on the other hand, am going to start from the top. Well, what is currently the top, because I have it pointed upward. And I am going to let this get into every nook and cranny. Let's get that. All right. Our intention is now just to add another layer of brown. Obviously, this makes for rather slow painting for the video, but let's talk about stuff. Looks like somebody popped into the chat. Hey, I will let you know though, the computer where I have the chat stream is across the room. Morning, Lost Nomad. It's coming along. It's definitely coming along with Catapult. I will let you know that the chat stream is a few feet away, so it's not right next to me. So if I don't respond quickly, then it's just because I'm I don't want to say across the room, because it's literally 4 feet away. If I pick my butt up off this stool I'm on and plunk my butt down in the chair at the computer, it's really no farther than 4 feet away. So to say it's across the room feels like a bit of an exaggeration. Feels like I'm feathering the nest a little bit there, trying to make it out as if I'm working hard here, and all I'm doing is slapping some paint on. You know, it looks like the grain is holding up well enough on this, even when I'm putting on a third coat. I was concerned that with this cheaper paint, I would find that as I got to successive coats, which I knew were going to be the thing I would have to do. My concern was when I got to successive coats, it would fill in a fair amount of the detail, the grain detail. But I don't know. I don't think that's the case. Doesn't appear to be. I think we'll be able to tell once we have this one painted and we hold it down next to a second one, because I've got a bunch of them. This is the quote-unquote test catapult, one that I'm painting on its own first, using the colors I will probably use with the rest of the catapults. I think I have a dozen of them. If not, I have 11. I think I may have got one and then got 10 more later. I needed to see what one looked like. Size-wise, it's bigger than I expected it to be. When I saw it in the packaging, I couldn't quite wrap my head around on how big it would be next to a miniature, and I was concerned because a lot of siege engines that I've grabbed from toy play sets and the like in the past have turned out to be diminutive compared to miniatures. Let's say they probably would work fine with 15 millimeter miniatures, and I'll definitely hang on to them for use with armies that are 15 millimeter. That's not an unusual thing to have in a war game, is to use my ancients and some of my medievals that I used for Field of Glory, wherever they are. They're packed away somewhere. Haven't played Field of Glory in a while. But the miniatures that I used for Field of Glory were mainly 15 millimeter armies. So, am I off camera a little too much there? Let me move toward the center a bit more. See if that helps look a little better. You know, I wanted to put my finger on there and hold on to that to keep it down. But looks like I need to be able to get there. I think I've got the insides of both of those struts. Should we call them struts, for lack of a better term? Painted. I've got inside the wheels. I've got the underside of both of the main beams of the carriage. Is that a term we should use for this underside? Would it be called the carriage, probably? Chassis? If it doesn't have a body, does it still have a chassis? I guess it does. Chassis is what the part of the vehicle, and it is a vehicle, the part of the vehicle that has the wheels attached to it and holds up anything more that is involved in this. We'll just use that to slide it around. I could just grab it. Am I afraid of paint? No. I'm not afraid of paint. Is it easy enough just to manhandle this thing with the side of the brush? I think it is. So I will do just that. Alright, I think I've got another coat of paint on the entire beast. Well, you know, no good project was ever, what do they say? Something can be done quickly, or can be done well, or it can be done cheaply. Pick two. In this case, I think we're picking one. I'm doing it cheaply because I'm using cheap paint. That is making it a longer process, because probably with better paint, 2 coats would have been enough. But in this case, I think it'll turn up well. So if we want it to be well, and we want it to be cheap, it's not going to be fast. Yeah, that makes sense. That's the old pick two. Cheap, fast, Or, what's the third one? Cheap, fast, or well. We're going to do it well. We're going to do it cheap. So we got 11 of them. And this is just the catapults, right? I mean, I've got 11 more of these things to paint after this one. And I've also got, stepping away from the table once again for a minute, to go and see if I have this other thing available. Yeah, I do. I've got a bunch of wagons. Well, not a bunch. I have a few wagons, I'll say that, to paint up. A couple of wagons. I've got a bunch of doors to paint. I've got stocks, guillotines. Let me bring these things in the other room. Ballista, though, I think are the most closely tied other items I have that are going to require a decision about painting. 3, 6, 9. I have 10 packs. I'll move this extra catapult out of the way. I have 10 packs of these ballista. And there's 2 in a pack, so there's 20 of these. They're smaller relative to the catapult, right? So they're a different type of castle defense weaponry, siege engine. But let's see, 3, 6, 9, 10. Yeah, so I have 20 of them. So this is going to require some more silver paint. I do have metallic silver, Craft Smart paint for that too. Probably use that. I'm not looking to waste a lot of the better paint. But again, this is something that's going to take some time. It'll be some time consuming, but it'll be cheap and will eventually do it well. I've got a bunch of these WizKids doors too. I don't know, I must have half a dozen packs. It's about 12 of these doors. These doors are more stone than wood, right? But nevertheless, they're going to require some painting. They are pre-primed, so they're mainly gray now. A light coat of a dark gray will probably cover around the stonework pretty well. We've got the metal iron fittings. I don't know how much I'll punch up that face that comes out of the top. That will probably remain blended in with the rest of the stonework. You know, if you do something fancy with those, and you've got a bunch of doors in a location, then it's going to look as if they're not all the same, it's going to look as if some door is special. You could have a group of players looking at one of them as if it's the cat's meow compared to the rest of the doors. Anyway, we got started a little bit late today. We are closing in on the 10 o'clock hour when we're usually finished. I will thank everybody for popping in. Let's just turn that off. Whoop. There we go. I had to change that around a little bit. Has everybody seen my my technical difficulties screen? Let me grab this public domain image where this guy was on the ground next to his donkey. I decided This was one of the few images I could find where someone had fallen on their ass and fallen off their ass. So it struck me as a funny pun. I figured I needed to utilize it. So, beyond the catapults, we've got a bunch of ballista, we've got a bunch of doors. You know, at the rate I've been doing it thus far, this is going to take all summer just to get through those. And I've got other stuff I'm going to want to get to at some point. So, I'm going to have to spend some time beyond just this Thursday stream doing some painting or working on terrain, because I do have some of that coming up too. Or these are going to have to get longer. I'm going to have to put in extra times beyond this half hour, and that way I can make some real headway. Obviously, when I'm doing a test case, it's going to take a little longer. It's going to but maybe that's just it. Maybe I can't do my test case as part of the stream. Maybe I need to discuss it and then just go do it and have a look at it and then do the power painting. That is to say, I've got another 10. Show how that work gets done on camera and somewhat off. You know what? I'm just going to spend more time at it. I think that's the bottom line. So, there you go. That is definitely the case. Alrighty. We'll be looking at doing some more of this next week. Just to take a quick look at the coming up schedule. Tomorrow we'll be working on some adventures. I think we will probably detail some of what we did with the tower adventure that we used over this last weekend with Con of Champions. I did it in the middle slot. I had intended to do it with third level pre-generated characters, but after some testing out of some stuff and whatnot, I moved that up to 5th level. I had 5th level characters anyway for the third slot on each Saturday and Monday, and I had first level pre-gens ready for the first slot Saturday and Monday. I stuck with that. I upgraded, I guess, promoted, leveled up the middle ones from 3rd to 5th, make them more survivable. I could have watered down the scenario from what I had intended to use. I wanted it to be tough. I made it too tough. But it was still tough enough that the first group on Saturday had a difficult time, but did manage to complete the scenario. The group on Monday had some difficulty, weren't as good at avoiding time-consuming encounters. The initial encounter that I had set up was with some wandering ogres. You could avoid them. You could get in contact with them. Attempts were made to kind of keep an eye on them, but they ultimately failed. And they dispatched them fairly quickly. But when you have a 3-hour time slot and you use better part of 20 minutes to a half hour on an encounter you could have avoided in several minutes, then you've eaten up a lot of time you could have used for something else later on. And I think once they had done that, I'm talking about the Monday group, once they had done that, it would have behooved them to be a little less cautious later, but they doubled down. They became even more cautious and took even more time in their reconnoiter of the tower, and then their approach of the tower split the party. sent the thief out, which, not a bad plan. I mean, logically, makes a lot of good sense. But given the metagame, given their knowledge of the time constraints they were under, probably should have thrown a little more caution to the wind. Anyway, we'll look at probably that tower tomorrow, I think, because I've got the maps all set up. I've got the pages all set up. It is separate from the other two. I used the same campaign for the other two. I just had dual sets of characters and dual sets of tokens, and then was using some of the same. I was using the village of Laidlaw and the Silvercrest Tavern map for both. They were just one was a ramped up, tougher, higher level scenario. But the tower scenario was its own thing. It's separate. I can just go in there. We can plunk down some stuff. We can talk about what I did use, tokens-wise, monster-wise, and we can talk about what might be used instead. So that will probably work for tomorrow's virtual tabletop building adventures half hour. And then on Saturday, we're switching gears. We did the first 9 episodes of the Dungeons & Dragons, the animated series. That's disc 1 of 3. There are 27 of those episodes. We're going to take a break from that and move over to Conan the Adventurer, Season 1. There are actually 65 of these. The Season 1 holds, I'm forgetting how many. It's a bunch. It's a 2-disc set. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 on the first disc. I think 6 or 7. Yep, 6, 13 total on this one. So we'll probably go through all of Season 1 before we switch over to something else. Don't quote me on that. Don't hold me to it. But that's in all likelihood. We'll do a running review of the first episode this Saturday. Back to that rules retrospective. We're about halfway through. David M. Prada's version 2.2, 2006. First edition, I say that parenthetically. Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Initiative and Combat Rules document, which is about 12 pages with a couple example pages tacked on to the end and a list of its sources. We're about page 6, I think. We're about halfway through at this point. We'll continue with that. Weekly news and giveaway on Monday. We've got a couple of Antonio Banderas' 13th Warrior DVDs. One of them's is not in its shrink wrap anymore, but it works fine. That's going to be the first week giveaway. Anybody who chimes in to the chat stream this week on Twitch, who is also a follower of the Twitch channel, will be automatically added into our giveaway drawing for this week, which we'll do on this coming Monday. Cartography and World Building on Tuesday. Campaign Grimwald discussion on Wednesday. Crafting, painting, we're back full circle to working on this. Honestly, I should try to spend some more time in between. Don't forget, Monday's a new month. It's June. Let's also not forget that today marks the 70th, that's 70, episode of the OK Grognard Show. We're on 7 days a week. We've been doing this for 70 shows. We'll do something big and special for 100. That won't happen until late in June. I've got this set up so if the game store opens back up and I'm called back into work, I can still do this. Knocking these out in the morning is a pleasure to do. It's easy to do. It's simple. It helps me keep track of the days of the week for now. Once the game store opens back up, it'll be just something fun to do each day when I'm up anyway and I'm doing some gaming stuff. It'll motivate me to work on more gaming stuff. In any event, there you are. That's the schedule. I want to thank everybody who popped into the article. Just a car. Yep, you're just making it at the tail end there. Well, thanks for stopping in anyway. You're on the drawing list, as is Lost Nomad. Both of you were on it already from earlier this week. Thank you both. Thanks for following the Twitch channel. If you're catching this over on YouTube, please do subscribe. Thank you for that. Hey, Article Just a Car, tell me, how's the sound today? I've got an extra fan on in the room, and I suspect it's muddying up the audio on this. You want to tell me what you think? But again, those of you on YouTube, please do subscribe. Give us a like, a thumbs up, or a thumbs down if you feel that's the way to go, whatever is what you believe. I can hear the buzz of the fan, but your sound is good. Thank you. Okay, well, that's not a bad thing then. I imagine when it gets a little hotter in the summertime, if I've got an air conditioner going, I'm going to have a similar thing. I may have to nix the air conditioner while I'm doing the show, and it's good to know that the fan is not too obtrusive. I guess I could turn it down a little bit, but boy, when it's going to get hot, it's going to be hot. Anyway, thank you very much for the tip. Thanks for watching. Everybody have a great day, and we will catch you tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Central from beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Bye-bye.